Hello everyone. It's great to see you again in today's video. Living room with a set of exquisitely carved wooden tables and chairs. Jack's mother sat next to him, chatting animatedly. The two were laughing and talking happily, seemingly discussing someone special, perhaps Tu Tien. Immediately after, Tu Tien brought out tea to invite her, her expression gentle but containing a hint of hesitation. She carefully poured each cup of tea, then quietly sat down next to Jack. He tilted his head slightly to look at her, his eyes warm and full of sympathy. Jack's mother also looked attentively at the young girl, as if listening to an untold story. The atmosphere gradually became quiet. Tu Tien lowered her head, seemingly moved. She said that yesterday she met her ex-father-in-law again. Now he is no longer in that old house because her ex-husband is too wild and destructive, so now he has to wander outside. She told about how when she was his daughter-in-law, he used to help and love her a lot. She was talking about the difficulties she had gone through, the hard days, the salty sweat in the countryside. Jack and his mother listened attentively, their eyes full of sympathy. Now that she met him again when he was in trouble, she really wanted to help him. Tu Tien asked Jack's mother for permission to let her father-in-law stay on the farm for a while. Jack's mother immediately agreed and told her not to worry too much and to let him stay on the farm. Finally, all three sat together, cups of tea in hand. But what spread was not just the aroma of the tea but sympathy, sharing and new beginnings between strangers who gradually became close. After sitting for a while, Jack asked his mother for permission to go, and at the same time, Tu Tien also asked for permission to go to the farm to harvest melons to sell at the market. Jack's mother told him that it was convenient for him to take her there, and she told Tu Tien to go in and get her things and prepare to go with Jack. Outside, Jack and his mother talked about Tu Tien's father-in-law's current situation. She told Jack to go buy some food to bring to the farm for him when he finished his work. After Tu Tien went in and got her things, Jack also asked his mother for permission to leave early so they wouldn't be late, and she happily told her two children to be careful. Inside the car, the two chatted happily as they drove along. Jack was behind the wheel, occasionally turning to smile at Tu Tien, his eyes gentle and full of care. Tu Tien, meanwhile, was talking about the tasks she needed to do that day, her face clearly showing her joy. The pickup truck slowly came to a stop by the road leading to the farm. The early sunlight filtered through the trees, casting a soft golden glow over the scenery. Jack turned to look at Tu Tien, gave her a warm smile, then opened the door and stepped out. He walked around to the back of the truck, opened the bed, and took out a large bamboo basket, a familiar item that Tu Tien always used when harvesting in the garden. Carefully, Jack brushed off a few specks of dust and brought it to her. He stepped closer, gently placed the hat on her head, and skillfully adjusted the strap to sit just right. The gesture was simple, yet it carried a quiet, sincere care. Tu Tien lowered her head slightly, her face flushed red, but her smile was bright and radiant. Jack looked at her tenderly, then gently reminded her in a warm voice, "Be careful in there. The sun is strong today, so make sure to take a break if you get tired. Don't push yourself too hard. When you're done, just call me and I'll come pick you up." Tu Tien nodded, her eyes filled with gratitude and emotion. She turned and walked toward the farm, where rows of green melons awaited her, carrying with her Jack's gentle care. The early sunlight stretched across the lush green fields, and a gentle breeze carried the scent of ripe rice and wildflowers. Tu Tien began her new day with a familiar task, harvesting melons at the farm. She carefully selected each ripe fruit, used a small knife to cut the stem, then gently placed it into the bamboo basket beside her. Bent over in the middle of the field, her hands moved swiftly, picking one ripe melon after another, her eyes shining with joy. Sweat beaded on her forehead and soaked the hem of her shirt, yet a smile never left her lips. Her small figure stood out in the vast field, radiating a quiet strength and tireless diligence. Each melon neatly stacked in the basket was a testament to her hard work and the simple happiness she found in nature. No complaints, no rest, just a quiet perseverance, like her own gentle beauty blending into the natural landscape. Amidst the green fields, Tu Tien's figure stood out like a modest but vibrant brushstroke. A hard-working, resilient woman, steadily nurturing her dreams with her own hands. When the basket was full, Tu Tien gently bent down, carefully lifting the load filled with golden-ripe melons. Round, fragrant, and sweet. She turned, slipped both arms through the straps, and slowly stood up. The heavy weight caused her back to curve slightly. Sweat dampened the hem of her shirt, yet her face remained calm and resolute. Each step she took through the dense, tangled melon vines left behind the mark of quiet diligence. There were no complaints, no signs of fatigue in her eyes, only focus and unwavering determination. That petite figure, amid the vast green fields, stood as a silent symbol of tireless labor, of a humble woman deeply rooted in the land and the rhythm of the seasons. Tu Tien walked forward, her gaze sweeping over the lush expanse ahead. The breeze from the field blew cool against her skin, carrying the gentle scent of grass and earth, steadying her steps. She continued on, contributing her strength to the growth of their small farm, a place where love and the beauty of simple things sprouted and blossomed with each passing day. As for Jack, he was a young construction engineer, passionate and dedicated to his profession. Today, he was present at a construction site nestled among lush green hills to help his close friend resolve several issues caused by mistakes made by the building crew. As soon as he arrived, Jack stepped out of the car and, in the midst of the half-finished site, quickly approached the homeowner for a handshake and asked his friend about the current situation. Even though the project wasn't his own, Jack took full responsibility. He carefully examined the blueprints, discussed the issues with his friend, and surveyed the entire site to work out solutions together. After thoroughly inspecting each wall section and pillar, Jack stood seriously before the blueprint with his close friend, the one overseeing the build. Pointing at specific details, Jack calmly analyzed. The foundation here needs extra reinforcement. When the rainy season comes, this area could easily sink. And the drainage system, we need to recalculate it carefully to avoid waterlogging. He spoke clearly and thoughtfully, his eyes reflecting a strong sense of responsibility. His friend listened attentively, nodding repeatedly, as if every word Jack said was a guiding principle to ensure the safe completion of the project. After finishing their discussion, Jack and his companions stepped into a modest wooden house nestled beside the construction site, the old home of the property owner. The homeowner was already waiting inside. His eyes showed anticipation, tinged with a trace of worry. Jack sat down and gently began. "Sir, with your permission, today we'd like to discuss in more detail the plan for reinforcing the foundation at the back of the house. The terrain is a bit tricky, but I believe there's a way to handle it safely and sustainably." The homeowner nodded, his gaze attentive as Jack carefully explained each option, from soil reinforcement, drainage direction, to selecting materials suited for the highland climate. The atmosphere in the wooden house was quiet, but not tense. Instead, it reflected a spirit of cooperation and responsibility. Jack concluded firmly, "You can rest assured, sir. We're not just here to complete a project, we're doing this for the people who live here. It has to be strong, it has to be beautiful, and it has to come from the heart." The homeowner smiled, a rare but sincere smile, as if a heavy burden had just been lifted from his shoulders. After discussing the project plan, the atmosphere in the wooden house gradually became lighter and more intimate. Jack and the landlord drank a cup of hot tea together. Both of them laughed and talked happily. The conversation gradually shifted from work to everyday stories about life in the village. In that story, the landlord suddenly realized that Jack was Tu Tien's current boyfriend. The landlord introduced himself as the village chief here. Tu Tien was a person in the village. The village chief talked about Tu Tien's situation in the recent flash flood, Tu Tien's farm was damaged and destroyed a lot. The village chief said that he had helped Tu Tien borrow money to overcome the immediate consequences and be able to repair the farm. Hearing that, Jack immediately thanked the village chief for enthusiastically helping Tu Tien in difficult times. Jack also shared with the village chief that he also wanted to repair the farm for Tu Tien so that she could live in peace. The village chief suggested to Jack that there was a piece of land on the hill near the farm of Tu Tien that they wanted to sell. If Jack could buy that piece of land to make a place for Tu Tien to live, it would be very good. The terrain was high, so there would be no fear of flash floods, it would be very safe, and it would also be close to Tu Tien's farm. If Jack wanted to buy that piece of land, he would ask for help. Jack immediately agreed to ask the village chief to ask for help. He also asked the village chief for the landowner's phone number to contact him. After talking to the village chief, Jack and his friend asked permission to leave. In front of the ancient wooden house, Jack and his friend stood and discussed carefully. Jack instructed his friend to quickly fix the mistakes and do it carefully. Jack's friend nodded in agreement and could not help but admire the agility and flexibility in the work. After the discussion, the two said goodbye to each other and left. After leaving the village chief's house, Jack got into his car, his face thoughtful after the emotional conversation. He sat in the driver's seat, closed the door, pulled out his phone, and quickly dialed a number. Jack was calling the owner of the plot of land the village chief had just mentioned. He expressed his interest in visiting and purchasing the land. Meanwhile, in a small corner of the market at the foot of the mountain, Lieuten, a hard-working mountain girl, was carrying a full basket down the street. Her steps were quick, not stopping to rest after an early morning of picking melons. At the market, she carefully presented each result, then cheerfully greeted the customers. Tu Tien sat huddled next to the round, plump melons, yellow skin mixed with cool green things. A wide-brimmed hat drifted to block the sun. Her hands quickly placed each melon into the customer's bag. Her eyes lit up with the need and small joy of having a buyer. On the edge, a bamboo basket full of flowers still covered in dust, like a clear trace of an early morning welcoming goods from the farm. On the sloping ground, she sat neatly in a small corner of the market. Next to her were beans, fresh green vegetables, and fragrant ripe jackfruit mixed with the familiar smell of the countryside market. Every gesture of hers, from the way she counts money, hands over goods, to the look of gratitude she gives to the buyer, exudes the sincerity and simplicity of a girl who has spent her whole life attached to the land. As for Jack, when the village chief introduced him to a good piece of land, he quickly went there. Jack got out of the car in the middle of a winding dirt road. In front of him was a flat, leveled hill, surrounded by lush green forests. He adjusted his helmet on his head, holding his phone in his hand to call the landowner. In no time, a middle-aged man in a blue t-shirt, with a simple appearance, walked up to shake Jack's hand, and Jack immediately expressed his desire to buy the land. Jack listened attentively to the landowner's introduction of the land. The land's favorable location was high up, so there would be no fear of flash floods when it rained. He nodded. Then the two walked along the edge of the land, talking animatedly as they walked. Jack agreed to buy the land and made an appointment with the landowner to come another day to complete the transfer procedures. Laughter echoed softly among the peaceful mountains and forests. Joy was evident on both their faces. One was the one who found a suitable place to start. The other was the one who sold the land with satisfaction for having chosen a decent person to transfer it to. After finishing the land purchase, Jack went to the previously agreed location with Tu Tien to pick her up. Tu Tien was still at the market, diligently soliciting and selling melons to customers. Probably because Tu Tien had a gentle and hard-working appearance. Along with her solicitations, Tu Tien had sold all the melons in just a short while. After selling, she quickly packed up her things to go back to the meeting place with Jack. On the small bridge across the clear stream, Jack stood still, his face pensive, mixed with a bit of anticipation. His eyes looked far away as if following each familiar step. In front was a peaceful countryside scene where birds chirped on the branches. Leaves swayed in the early morning sun. The sound of water trickling under the bridge was like a lullaby soothing the heart. Everything here seemed to be quiet. Only Jack's heart beat steadily, anxiously waiting for the moment Tu Tien stepped in. Jack stood on the bridge waiting, his eyes following Tu Tien, who was returning from the fields. The hard-working country girl with a basket on her back smiled brightly when she saw him. They waved to each other. Then Tu Tien ran quickly to Jack. When the two met in the middle of the bridge, they held each other's hands tightly and asked each other if they were tired, their eyes shining with happiness. The two walked side by side on the small suspension bridge, talking and laughing as they walked. At that moment, amidst the cool green nature and peaceful scenery of the village, their hearts seemed to be more deeply connected than ever. When they reached the other side of the bridge, Tu Tien told Jack that she wanted to go to the farm to see how her father-in-law was doing, and Jack happily agreed. Sitting in the car, Tu Tien happily told Jack that she had gone to harvest melons today and then brought them to the market to sell. The two of them happily talked to each other. When they arrived at a grocery store on the side of the road, Jack stopped the car and told Tu Tien that he wanted to buy some food to bring to the farm. Inside the grocery store, Jack told Tu Tien to choose the necessary items. Tu Tien thought and searched for the necessary items to bring to her father-in-law. After a while of choosing, Tu Tien had bought all the necessary items. She and Jack put them in the car and quickly headed towards the farm. Next to the simple thatched hut nestled under the green canopy is the image of an old man with a head of gray hair quietly and diligently sweeping the yard. Around him are a few cats leisurely lying in the corner of the yard, some of them hovering around his feet, sometimes jumping up and grabbing the broom as if wanting to play. When he was tired from cleaning, he sat down to rest. He hugged the cat and stroked it as if there was only him and the cats to confide in. While he was sitting and playing with the cat, Jack and Tu Tien came over with their hands full of food and daily necessities for him. On the porch of the rustic thatched hut, where the gentle breeze blew through, carrying the scent of wild grass and the rustling sound of leaves, the old man, Jack, and Tu Tien sat close together on an old bamboo chair. Jack asked the old man if he was used to living here and if he felt like he was missing anything, he should tell him so he could buy it for him. The old man immediately thanked Jack for helping him a lot, helping him find a stable place to live and also buying him a lot of things. He felt very grateful and touched by that feeling. Jack smiled slightly and told the old man to feel secure here and not to think too much about everything he did for Tu Tien. Tu Tien next to him also told the old man that Jack was a very gentle and kind person. During the time she was here, Jack had helped her a lot. Tu Tien stood up, took out a bag of cat food and fed the kittens. The old man said that there were cats here to keep them company, so he didn't feel sad. After sitting for a while, Jack told the old man to rest. Now he and Tu Tien had to go home. The two said goodbye to him and left. The old man sat there holding the kitten in his arms, stroking the kitten while watching the two people leave. When they got to the gate, Jack told Tu Tien that he wanted to take her somewhere. Tu Tien was curious about where Jack was taking her. As she walked, she asked him where he wanted to take her. Jack just smiled and held Tu Tien's hand as he walked as if he wanted to give Tu Tien a surprise. Then Jack also took Tu Tien to a piece of land on the hill where he had just agreed to buy that morning. Jack told Tu Tien that he planned to build a house here, which would be safe when it rained, would not be afraid of flash floods, and would also be close to the farm, convenient for Tu Tien to go to harvest every day. Tu Tien was surprised and asked Jack why she had never heard Jack talk about this land before. Jack was silent and just smiled as if he wanted to hide from Tu Tien that he had just bought this land to build a house for her to live in, for fear that she would not agree, for fear that it would be dangerous for her to live down there when the rainy season came. The two held hands and looked at each other, smiling as they talked about the future of having a house with children playing in the yard. An image of a warm and happy family. Their eyes looked at each other with affection. Their smiles could not hide their happiness. Tu Tien leaned on Jack's shoulder, emotionally saying that Jack was so good. He was always her support whenever she needed him, and he always helped her a lot. She felt peace and stability in his arms. They shared a sweet kiss amidst the majestic and poetic natural scenery. It was not only a kiss of love, but also a promise for a future together, between the vast sky and the deep human love.